Picture a creature with no bones, 3 hearts, blue blood, and a brain split across 8 independently thinking arms. Sounds like science fiction. It's just Tuesday for an octopus. Let's meet one of the strangest, smartest animals in the entire ocean. This animal can do amazing things. It can push its whole body through a tiny gap. The gap can be as small as a coin. It can also change its skin. In 1 second, it can look like sand, or rock, or coral. It can taste the world, too. It just touches something, and it knows the taste. And if danger comes close, it has one more trick. It shoots out black ink. Then it disappears. Scientists say the octopus mind is strange. It is almost like an alien mind. It grew in a very different way from ours, but somehow it became just as smart. So how does a soft, boneless animal become one of the smartest creatures in the sea? Let's find out. First, let's start with its name, etymology and pluralization. Octopus is not really a Latin word. It came from ancient Greek, octopus. Octo means 8. Pous means foot. 8 foot. That's it. Simple math with a scary body attached. But naming this thing was easy. Making its plural was not. Is it octopuses? Octopi? Octopodes? People have thought about this for 200 years. Octopi sounds like the fancy choice, but many dictionaries call it a mistake. It only works if octopus follows a certain Latin pattern, and it does not. Octopodes is the strict Greek version, but almost nobody says it out loud, because it sounds like a tongue twister at a spelling contest. So most dictionaries agree. Octopuses is the safe, correct answer. Anatomy and physiology. Now let's build one from the inside out. An octopus has no skeleton. None. Its whole body is a soft bag of muscle called the mantle sitting above the head. Inside that bag are the important organs, including not 1 heart, but 3. 2 small hearts pump blood through the gills. 1 big central heart pumps blood everywhere else. And here's a strange twist. The big heart actually stops working while the octopus swims. Swimming is expensive and stressful, so most octopuses prefer to crawl instead. Slow and steady really does win here. The blood itself is blue, not red. It carries oxygen using copper instead of iron. This blue blood needs high pressure to move around, especially in cold water. At the front of the head sit 2 large eyes, working much like ours, with a lens and a light, sensitive back layer. Around the mouth are 8 arms, and the mouth itself hides a hard, sharp beak, the only stiff part of the entire animal. Because everything else is soft, an octopus can squeeze through a gap barely bigger than 1 inch wide. If the beak fits, the rest slides through like water through a straw. Each arm is lined with round suckers. These suckers do not just grip, they taste. Imagine tasting a rock simply by touching it with your finger. That is an octopus's normal day. And here is where things get truly strange. An octopus has around 500 million nerve cells, about the same number as a dog. But 2 out of every 3 of those cells live in the arms, not the brain. This means each arm can react and move with a surprising amount of independence. A severed arm can even keep moving on its own for a while. The brain handles memory and learning. The arms often handle the moment-to-moment decisions. It is teamwork, cephalopod style. To stay coordinated, The octopus relies heavily on its eyes to track where its own arms are, since it cannot always feel their position on its own. Life cycle. Most octopuses live fast and die young, often less than 2 years. Mating usually looks like this. The male uses one special arm to pass a packet of sperm into the female. After mating, he begins to weaken and dies not long after. The female lays her eggs, sometimes tens of thousands of them in strings inside a den. Then she guards them constantly, barely eating for months until they hatch. Once they hatch, she too dies. It is a brutal, one-shot version of parenthood. Everything the body has left goes into protecting that one batch of eggs. Then the story ends. Most baby octopuses start life as tiny drifting larvae, floating in open water and eating small shrimp-like creatures before eventually settling down to the seafloor to grow up. Distribution and habitat. Octopuses live in every single ocean on Earth. From shallow tide pools you can walk into at low tide, to coral reefs, to open water far from any coastline, to the pitch-dark seafloor thousands of meters down. Some tough species even survive near freezing Antarctic waters. Others crawl along near boiling hot underwater vents. No octopus, however, lives in fresh water. The rivers and lakes are off limits. Salt water only, please. Behavior and ecology. Octopuses are famous for 2 things: being incredibly smart and being incredibly good at hiding. In lab tests, they can solve mazes, open jars, and remember solutions later. Some have even been seen using tools, like collecting coconut shells to build a portable shelter, carrying the shells around like a hermit crab with a furniture problem. Camouflage is their real superpower, though. Their skin is full of tiny color cells that can shift the entire body's pattern in less than a second, matching sand, rock, or coral almost perfectly. Some can even change their skin texture to look bumpy like algae-covered stone. This costs a huge amount of energy, nearly as much as being fully active. Looking invisible is expensive work. If camouflage fails, there is always the classic backup plan. Shooting out a cloud of dark ink to confuse a predator and mask their scent, buying just enough time to escape. Most octopuses are loners, hiding in dens and only meeting others to mate or fight over territory. A few species break this rule and live in small groups, which scientists still find surprising. Evolution. Octopuses evolved from ancient shelled mollusk ancestors millions of years ago. Over time, some cephalopods traded their heavy outer shell for speed and flexibility instead. The shell moved inside the body, then eventually disappeared almost completely in most octopuses. Because their bodies are almost entirely soft tissue, fossils are rare. Soft bodies do not preserve well, so this evolutionary history is pieced together mostly from a few lucky fossil finds and genetic studies, rather than a long, complete fossil record. Relationship to humans. Humans have been fascinated, and a little frightened, by octopuses for thousands of years. Ancient pottery and coins from old Mediterranean cultures already show octopus designs. Legends about giant sea monsters like the kraken likely grew from real but exaggerated encounters with large octopuses. They also show up constantly in art, folklore, and old ocean myths as clever tricksters or dangerous monsters lurking just offshore. Today, octopuses are eaten in many cultures around the world, especially around the Mediterranean and across Asia. They are also studied heavily in science labs, partly because their intelligence evolved completely separately from ours, making them one of nature's best examples of a truly different kind of mind. That last point is really the heart of the whole story. Octopuses did not get smart by following the same evolutionary path as dogs, dolphins, or humans. They built intelligence from scratch, with a body plan nothing like ours. Which makes you wonder, if intelligence can evolve this differently right here on Earth, what else might be waiting out there, thinking in a way we have never even imagined?